Fellow citizens, today we start our journey towards our 61st Independence Day, remembering the heroic achievements of our founding fathers and mothers. But the question still remains, are we really independent when our economy is still not under our control, 61 years after independence? Can we really be independent when the means of production, including our banking sector, are still in foreign hands? Fellow citizens, Zambia is hurting. Across our great nation, from the villages to the cities, families are struggling to survive under the unbearable weight of the high cost of living and deepening poverty. Prices of food, fuel, mealie meal, transport, electricity, and basic household goods have skyrocketed way beyond the reach of ordinary citizens. Our country today faces a crisis of poverty that is both widespread and deepening. The statistics paint a very gloomy picture. Despite being one of the world's largest copper producers, the majority of our people remain trapped in poverty. Rising costs of living, persistent unemployment, and rural underdevelopment are pushing millions of families into hardship and despair. The current poverty picture is frightening. Overall poverty stands at 64%, or 6 in 10 Zambians live below the national poverty line, which is $2 a day. Out of 22 million Zambians, this means 14 million live below the national poverty line. Extreme poverty or multi-dimensional policy engulfs nearly half of the population at 48%, meaning these cannot even meet basic food needs and are deprived of services such as health, education, housing, electricity, and access to water. In the rural areas, almost 80% of households, or 78.8% to be specific, are poor, while 32% of urban households are poor, and the poverty levels continue to rise. When it comes to food and nutrition, 31% of the population is undernourished, while 1 in 3 children under the age of 5 is stunted due to malnutrition. Fellow citizens, the situation we face in Zambia today is not an act of fate or an unavoidable global circumstance. It is the direct result of poor policy choices, misplaced priorities, and economic mismanagement exacerbated by the current government. As I said on 9th October on Emmanuel Mwamba verified EMV, Zambia is not poor. It is simply poorly managed. While the people cry for solutions, those in power have chosen to ignore the suffering of our people, oblivious to the pain our people have to endure on a daily basis. Is it not shameful, fellow citizens, that in our country's history, and indeed in the entire history of the Commonwealth, a ruling party, together with its leader of government business in Parliament and cabinet ministers, walked out of Parliament in February this year to avoid debating a motion on the cost of living? What subject then is more important to them as a government to debate in Parliament rather than to address this desperate situation that in fact threatens the very existence of our people? This single act of cowardice demonstrated the UPND government's complete inability to govern responsibly and to provide leadership during times of crisis. Fellow citizens, the People's Party, driven by the ideology of Ubuntu, refuses to turn a blind eye. We call this what it truly is, the elephant in the room. And we are ready to confront it head-on with compassion, competence, and courage. Hence, we have developed bold policies and programs to deal decisively with the cost of living now and in the future, and ensure that no Zambian is made to endure this pain and suffering ever again. Our commitment to the Zambian people is putting Zambians first and making life affordable again. Our policies, fellow citizens, are designed to bring immediate relief to struggling families, to stabilize the economy, and to lay a strong foundation for a prosperous future. Hence, we shall restore targeted subsidies on mealie meal, fertilizer, and fuel to immediately lower household expenses. Secondly, we shall remove unnecessary taxes on talk time, mobile money transactions, and small-scale trading to ease pressure on low-income earners. We shall, as a third measure, stabilize the kwacha and tame inflation by issuing a gold-backed stablecoin and ensuring prudent fiscal and monetary policy management. 4, we shall boost food production by empowering smallholder farmers and agribusinesses to produce more and add value at home, reducing reliance on imports. 5, we shall reduce fuel and energy costs by cutting fuel taxes, investing in renewable energy, and negotiating fair import contracts. 6, we shall promote affordable housing to reduce accommodation burdens on workers and low-income families. 7, we shall create employment opportunities, particularly for youth and women, to raise household incomes and purchasing power. 8, we shall develop efficient public transportation systems to cut commuting costs for workers and students. 9, we shall encourage local manufacturing to produce essential goods domestically, create jobs, and lower import dependence. For the immediate intervention, our action plan in the first 100 days in office will focus on direct interventions to restore dignity to the Zambian people. 1, we shall stabilize and reduce fuel prices by moving away from monthly upward price adjustments and renegotiating import contracts, as well as cancelling corruptly awarded contracts and promoting local blending. Secondly, we shall introduce mealie meal and fertilizer subsidies to bring down food prices. Number 3, we shall increase wages and salaries for public sector workers, starting with the lowest bands, targeting the bottom or the lowest paid with higher pay rises and not across the board increases. This will result in narrowing the gap between the haves and the have-nots, paired with strict hiring, fuel travel controls to stay budget neutral. 4, we shall clear arrears to local suppliers, starting with SMEs, so as to inject liquidity into the economy and protect jobs. Number 5, we shall stabilize the kwacha and control inflation by using gold-backed stablecoin and by strict fiscal discipline and targeted export production support. We shall launch a monthly cost of living dashboard to show the prices of maize, mealie meal, fuel, transport fares, the kwacha exchange rate, inflation expectations, etc., so as to allow the public to see whether or not we are making progress on the interventions that we are making. We shall support farmers with early delivery of inputs and irrigation facilities to ensure a strong agricultural recovery. Number 8, we shall stop corruption, which raises the cost of government contracts and services, hence making these services more costly to the poor people. These actions, fellow citizens, will bring quick relief to households, revive business confidence, and stabilize the economy. For the long term, fellow citizens, our plan is to move Zambia from poverty to prosperity. Beyond short-term relief measures outlined earlier, the People's Party vision is to build a Zambia where poverty is defeated through wealth creation, not through handouts that only give temporary relief. We want to teach and enable Zambians to fish, and not to give them fish which will only feed them for a short time. We will therefore implement what we are calling a national wealth creation strategy, which is designed, one, to reduce poverty from 64% to below 40% within the first 5 years. Secondly, we shall cut rural poverty by at least 20 percentage points within the first 5 years. Thirdly, we shall create between 2 to 2.5 million jobs in farming, mining, manufacturing, SMEs, and in services. 6, we shall reduce child multidimensional poverty from 70% to well below 50%. Our strategy focuses on empowering citizens with the means to create wealth through, 1, the SME Bank. We shall establish an SME development bank to provide financing for Zambian SMEs to engage in business and provide jobs. Secondly, we shall extend affordable power and digital connectivity across the country and ensure that our people, even in rural areas, have access to internet in all communities. We shall establish the National Agricultural Marketing Agency, NAMA, which will be a government agency to procure and market agricultural produce, leaving the Food Reserve Agency to focus on national food reserve management. 4, we shall push for the establishment of small millers. Using the SME bank that I talked about earlier, we shall finance small and medium enterprises wishing to invest in small milling plants through the SME bank, with the target of having at least one small milling plant in each ward to reduce the cost of transporting mealie meal to consumers. We shall, number 5, fast-track licensing of additional large-scale millers or retailers, enforce the Competition Act against cartels, and open municipal markets longer hours with security and lighting. I mean, we shall provide for our people to trade longer hours in local authority markets. We shall embark on the Rural Growth and Food Sovereignty Program. This will involve establishing youth farm blocks in every province, fully serviced with cultivation machinery, irrigation, power, storage facilities, and so on. SME reservation, number 7. We shall enact a law that will provide for reserving a minimum of 30% of public procurement for SMEs, women and youth. Provincial industrialization. We shall reorganize the Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, to invest in creating manufacturing and agro-processing zones in each province to create jobs closer to the people. IDC will also be encouraged to invest in new projects in rural areas, grow the project to a certain level, and then disinvest through floating of shares on the stock market And this will empower Zambians by acquiring stocks in the companies so floated. To monitor progress and policy impact, we shall establish a high cost of living war cabinet, a cabinet subcommittee to make sure that our policy interventions are having positive impact, and if not, make adjustments. It will be chaired by the Vice President and will comprise ministers and permanent secretaries of agriculture, energy, transport, finance, local government, and will also comprise technocrats from the Bank of Zambia, the Disaster Management and Medication Unit, the Food Reserve Agency, and the National Agricultural Marketing Agency, NAMA. Fellow citizens, this plan presents a fundamental shift from poverty to productivity, from dependency to empowerment, and from exclusion to shared prosperity. Our vision for Zambia. The People's Party envisions a Zambia where every family can afford food, housing, and transport, where every youth has access to meaningful employment or entrepreneurship opportunities, where every child goes to school well-fed and hopeful for the future, where every farmer and small business has the tools, the finance, and the markets to succeed. We will move Zambia from poverty to prosperity, from despair to dignity, and from underdevelopment to shared wealth. In conclusion, fellow Zambians, the high cost of living and the high levels of poverty are not unsolvable problems. They are policy failures that demand leadership, empathy, and action. The People's Party stands ready to deliver affordable living, including inclusive growth and prosperity for every Zambian. We say to every struggling family, help is on the way. To every farmer, trader, miner, worker, and entrepreneur, hope for a new opportunity is coming. And to every Zambian child, your future is guaranteed and will be brighter under the People's Party government. Remember, as I finish, to make sure you register to vote. Your economic empowerment, economic independence, and your future will all be determined by what you do today. Please register as a voter now. God bless you. I thank you.